Molly, I appreciate you joining me this morning and chatting with me about some very important things. Maybe I'll start out first. Why is it important for people to get these vaccines, and maybe go into some of the vaccines that you're talking about?
Yeah, so today I wanted to talk about two vaccines that have recently become publicly funded. And so that's Tdap, or the tetanus shot you've probably heard of, and then Prevnar 20, which is to protect against pneumonia. And these are really important just because they're going to protect yourself from these infections as well as loved ones. There's something called herd immunity we've probably heard a little bit about with COVID being so prevalent and that sort of thing. And that's basically if you get these vaccines, and the majority of Albertans get these vaccines, then it's a lot harder for the contagious infections to spread.
Now, one of the biggest questions I think that we have is if you choose not to get one of these vaccines, what could happen?
Yeah, so tetanus specifically can actually be pretty fatal. And so same with pneumonia. Like, you can get hospitalizations, and you can get really, really sick. And so if we have these vaccines that are publicly funded, meaning they're actually free to you, why not get them if you can protect yourself?
Now, maybe just go into a little bit about what tetanus is and what Prevnar 20 is, and does it affect maybe a certain age group?
Yeah, absolutely. So tetanus, or the Tdap vaccine, it actually covers a few different possible infections. So that's tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis. Pertussis is actually whooping cough. And so tetanus is something that you can get through spores in soil. And so that's why you hear about people getting tetanus shots after they've gotten like a rusty nail poked through their foot or a dog bite, because that's how it spreads. It spreads when you get a puncture wound. It's not that common in Canada, but again, that's because we've been getting tetanus shots for years here. And so it's something that's recommended every 10 years for adults. And then with the pertussis part of that vaccine, or the whooping cough, that's actually recommended in every single pregnancy, which not a lot of people know about. And that's because infants are at a very high risk of whooping cough. And so when you're pregnant and you get this vaccine, it can actually transfer that immunity to your baby when it's born.
How do you guys calm the nerves of people maybe that have fears of needles?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's something I'm really passionate about because I have friends and family who are very, very nervous about needles. And it's something I just like to chat with my patients. So they come in, I sit down with them, make sure they're comfortable with everything that's going on, ask them straight out, are you nervous about needles? Like, let me make sure can be the best experience for you. And a lot of times people actually tell me afterwards how nice it was to do that. And it's just treating you as a person, not just an arm to be poked. And I think that's super important.
Well, I have to say I love that because I'm very scared of needles. And so every time I go somewhere and they make me feel comfortable. And also the fact that after you get it done, you feel so good, right?
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's very brave for people who are really scared about needles to come in and get shots like this, not just for yourself, but for those that you love as well. I think that's really brave, and I like to acknowledge that too.
Oh, for sure. Now, where can people go to find more information on these shots?
Yeah, so My Health Alberta is a really good resource. They like to put a lot of good information on there that's targeted towards people who aren't in healthcare, who might not know all the crazy fancy words that we read. So that's a really good resource. Then also myself, call up your pharmacy, your local pharmacist. We have so much information and happy to share that with you. If you're not sure, if you're somebody who's eligible for one of these vaccines, come see me, call. We absolutely can figure that out. And then, of course, your family doctor should have that information as well.
Now, with Prevnar 20 and tetanus, is it like a cold or a flu where there are more, like, do you see more being reported in the fall or the winter? Like, are there any seasons where you see more cases?
Yeah, so tetanus, I'd say not really. Maybe sometimes in the summer when people are running around in their bare feet. Pneumonia usually is kind of similar to those other respiratory infections like COVID and flu, where you will see more of them during those cold months, because the Prevnar 20 is the one that's protecting you against certain strains of pneumonia. So I might see it a little bit more then, but both of these can happen year-round. And so that's why we don't really have a season where we offer these shots. We'll offer them year-round. These two vaccines are prescription only right now, so you do require a prescription to get them. So you can obviously get that from a physician or your family doctor, but you can also get that from prescribing pharmacists like myself. we are more than capable of prescribing that for you. And so it's kind of an easy drop-in, ask for a tetanus shot, and we can likely do it that same day.
Well, awesome, Molly. I really appreciate you coming and chatting about this very important stuff.